And good evening, everybody. It's Paul. Welcome to our Sunday night show. We're going to be calling this show BattleComm Unity. Sorry, and I got the volume going on in the background. What we're going to be trying to do on a weekly basis, most Sunday nights, is we're going to try to get together and focus on things like community news, community events that are happening, putting a focus on the wonderful people in our great community. Anything that we see online as far as events being run, appearances at conventions, not only just for obviously like Catalyst Game Labs or our group, Fox Network, or other groups out there, but the Catalyst demo team they're putting on, but even the fan made projects that people are doing out there that are shedding a positive light on the community, doing great work, and of course, spreading the word of Battletech and being ambassadors for this awesome game that we all love. Um, as you can see on the screen overlay, um, us here at Six Sides of Gaming, the guys at Fox Network, or 30th Century Fox Studio, we work behind the scenes and in public with various different content creators. Big Red and Tex are two of them. They're not on the screen apparently right now. I need a better picture of Red. Probably one with the big purple Free Worlds League eagle tattooed across his forehead. Once I get some good artwork, I'll get that added to the screen. Some of the other faces you see on there, you see Aaron from Death from Above Wargaming. Him and I are good buddies. We talk a lot behind the scenes. We see Justice at TikTok BattleTech. He does a lot of live shows, especially with the BattleTech Aces stuff. He's done over 100 live shows. He is relentless in his commitment to being a brand ambassador for the game of BattleTech. I love everything he does, and I try to catch it as much as I can. We also have our good friend and partner, Tuck Davian. He runs Battlebound, does Battle Talk. Uh, he's been doing it for years. He is one of the unsung heroes out there of our community, traveling from store to store around the United States. He's at Gen Con right now, probably traveling home. Tuck, I love you, brother. You're an inspiration to a lot of people out there. Doing Battletech and running content and creating events, things like that. And of course, we have our friends at Linvander Studios, which are part of Six Sides, who I work with on a consistent basis. So, these are things that we want to promote. We're all in this together. We're all on the same page, and we want to focus on all the positive things that this game brings to all of our lives on a weekly or day-to-day basis. With that said, we would like to pass things over to Henny. Henny is with me tonight. He'll be doing this most weekends with me, and he's going to focus on bringing up the news. And we're going to go over each little news article or item, and then we'll have a chat about it. So anybody that's in the chat, feel free to ask questions. We will interact with you live. We'll do this for about half an hour to an hour, and we'll go over as much as we can and have some fun and spread the good word. With that, I'll give it over to Henny.
Hi there, folks. I'm Henny. For all intents and purposes, I'm Paul's XO with the Fox Network and one of the board runners at events. You've probably seen me on some of the streams here, and I do pop on to co-host every once in a while, such as right now while Tommy and some of the other guys are at Gen Con fighting their way through traffic to get out of a building that probably has a few more thousand people than it was designed for right now. Right now, I think the first thing we're going to go into off the top of the bat is just mention the KS shipments. We're pretty happy to be finally getting most of them issued. They're arriving right now for people in Wave 2. Most of Wave 3, hi, that's me, has already received confirmation emails and are just waiting to have it show up in their doorstep.
And me in Wave 4, waiting and waiting
Wah,
and waiting. Wah, wah,
wah.
wah,
Yeah.
wah.
With the KS coming in, I think we've all got a lot of things that we're really looking forward to. Some of us are kind of still waiting with bated breath. Others have managed to get a couple of minis on the table. I know a Caesar and a Quick Draw popped up in my local group, and I was a little disappointed to not be the one fielding them. Um,
Yeah.
I'm mostly looking forward, honestly, to the Dervish and the Whitworth. I really want to get some of those light fire support units on the field. I love mobile units, strikers, and mediums, and I also really enjoy fire support units. And one of the things that's been missing for the most part in our current iteration of the game, excepting, of course, the venerable trench bucket, is anything remotely approaching mobile fire support. So we're going to really see a lot of that coming out now with that Dervish. And again, the Whitworth is not as mobile. It's just basically two-thirds of an archer. But for 40 tons, it's a very efficient little mech for both classic and alpha.
So let me jump in here for a quick sec. So mechs like the Dervish, the Whitworth, the Clint, a lot of these medium mechs. Now, back when I was younger, and I know that's many moons ago, those mechs in the lore were more the common force that people fought with. So a lot of the older guys out there are excited to see these mechs because, a fire lance back in the day consisted of a Whitworth or a trench bucket as opposed to a catapult and an archer. Where those heavier mechs are harder to come by, they're more expensive in the lore, and they're usually reserved for like the heavier units within any faction or fighting force. So I'm really excited to see those sculpts come out. I love them all. Scroggins did a fantastic job on them. I've loved literally every pose and sculpt so far on the redesigns and the rescene. I'm really excited to see these and a lot of the vehicles. I'll flip this back over to Henny there. Sorry for jumping in on you, buddy.
No, absolutely. I'm happy to give you your time to talk. Honestly, that is something that I'm really looking forward to again is those mobile proper fire support lances. I'm also looking forward to having the OS series on the table. Rare as they are, I love a good cavalry unit. And, we're going to talk a little bit later about, we've now talked about Paul's back in the day. We'll talk a little bit about my back in the day and some stuff that's coming out that is going to be a throwback to my childhood with Mech Warrior 4 and Mech Commander 2.
Okay. So Mech Commander 2, like video games, not really my forte. I have not played the video games since I was in grade 11. So we're talking 1990, summer 19 or fall of 1990, 91,
Mhm.
and that's back when we're playing it on like Commodore 64. So anything regards to video games, I'm gonna pass the buck over to you on. I do know there's games out there, but they are not my not my forte in any yeah.
Yeah, specifically what I'm referring to there is we're going to talk about Gen Con and what's going on there. And some of what's coming out are prototypes that we've seen issued for a couple of Lance packs coming out with a decidedly Davian flair. Most of those have units worked into them that I am getting to see from my childhood, from my Mech Warrior 4 games, things like the Thanatos, things like the Templar, things like the Hellspawn. And of course, we do have some coming out with the Mercenaries Kickstarter in the form of the Star Slayer, which is one of the more iconic and first mediums you get in the original Mech Commander 2.
All right, so the first Star League Assault Lance. What are we gonna have that just came out at Gen Con this weekend? We have the Star League Assault Lance. So it's got the Daishi Prometheus, the Emperor.
The Argus and the Helios. Yes, the Argus. There's another one of those MW4 mechs. The Daishi Prometheus, I don't think we need to talk too much about it. Let's be honest. It's Victor Davian's mech. It doesn't need a lot of introduction. It's big, it's hefty, it moves incredibly slow, and it is a fantastic way to put a ridiculous amount of BV on the table that is going to get easily LOS'd in the first few minutes of play. Uh,
So the one thing in that pack, there's actually two things. So me trying to get more into the modern eras. From playing in the Clan Invasion and in the Civil War, I've now gotten into the Blakist era. And now progressing into the Ill Clan era, I've wanted to build. I think it's the Fifth Denim Light Cavalry. It was one of the paint schemes that I was looking and I found that I liked. So I'm gonna try and make an Ill Clan force with that. And when I was building my list, the Argus and Helios are two of the mechs that I selected because this pack is coming out that are Ill Clan era or later era usable and their designs. So I'm looking forward to getting some of those, my hands on some of those when my buddies come back from Gen Con. And of course, the other item in that pack that I really, really want because I love narrative play, and I love objectives, is the coolant truck. Coolant truck, I think, is really cool. It's something you can put out there as an objective, or you can have your mechs hooked up to it as additional heat sinks, or if you want to get really sick and twisted, you can fill it up with fuel and use it as a mobile flamer. What else did we got going over there, Henny, for new mechs?
Well, aside from, Paul's dollar store fuel air bomb, we've got the Emperor, which is basically a Star League era mech that there is a lot of debate going back and forth over whether or not it or the Highlander was the first official use of jump jets on an assault mech. It does actually go to the Emperor, as much as I am sad to take that particular crown off of one of my favorite assault mechs, the Highlander. So the Emperor, for all intents and purposes, it's a heavier 90-ton, jump-capable brawling assault. Very much just a Crockett that's been upgraded a little bit in size and a little less ammo dependent.
Okay, so the other things that were kind of sneaked out or released or mentioned at Gen Con this weekend, a Davian Battle Lance. Is that correct, Henny? What do we have in there that got
Battle
sneak
Lance
previewed?
was my terminology. I'm not sure exactly what the nomers for it are. I've just seen all the pictures that were released of them. So what we're looking at there is a Thanatos, which again is one of the MW4 mechs that I'm really happy to see in the game. In the game, it really benefited from the ability to be customized. Unfortunately, you're going to see it on the tabletop mostly with MRMs, which I'm not a huge fan of. We also have the Templar coming out. The Templar being the first and kind of flagship Davian assault mech, Omni mech. So it is basically a mishmash of a Zeus and a Victor. And I'm going to be honest with you, there is a variant of it, the I variant, that is just absolutely terrifying. It carries two heavy PPCs and a Gauss rifle, which is, for all intents and purposes, three head cappers that is almost heat neutral firing.
Okay, so the other mechs I see on that list that you came up with what you found that got sneak previewed this weekend. There's the T-Bolt 9 NAIS. Obviously, I know what that is. But the other one on there is the Falconer. The Falconer is a pretty cool mech. I recently saw some line art for it. I think it was in the activity book. So it looks really cool, the resculpt on that. I'm looking forward to getting copies of any of this new stuff, because the more there's new sculpts for the newer era mechs or the later era mechs, the more invested I am as a narrative tabletop wargamer to get involved with those new eras. So the other thing that was released or sneak previewed looks like a Davian Striker lance of some sort, Henny.
Yeah, I'm going to throw back for 1 second just on the Falconer. I'll give a quick rundown on it. It is basically a faster, more mobile version of the Caesar. It was designed for most intents and purposes to take on clanners directly one-on-one, hence the term Falconer. It was designed to battle Clan Jade Falcon, and it might be most known in universe for being the mech that Deny Centrilla died in during Operation Serpent. Um, as far as the Striker Lance coming out, we are looking at what I believe is an Enforcer 3, which is just an upgrade of the Garden Variety Enforcer that Victor Davian commissioned and had basically made into its own unit. A Legionnaire, which is based on the Centurion chassis, but is built around a gun in very much the same kind of tradition as the Hollander, holding a Rack 5 for pretty much its entire existence. This thing is loaded down with a massive 350 XL engine, giving it 118 kph speed, so that's a 711 profile, I believe. And toting about that Rack 5, a targeting computer, and just enough ammunition to make the ludicrous rate of fire possible for a couple of turns.
So I'm looking at the names of these mechs. I recognize two of them. I recognize what would be an Enforcer 3 is obviously a heavier version of the Enforcer, I believe. Is that correct? What's the weight on that?
It's actually just another 50-ton
It's another
Enforcer.
50 tonner. So the other mech that's on there I see is the what's the gunsmith?
The gunsmith is the thing in the photo that kind of looks like a Wraith Knight from that game we'll never mention. It is a 30-ton mech with a quad of medium X-pulse lasers, basically a Fed Sun's new tech upgrade on something like the Venom. Really fast, really sneaky, brutal if it gets behind you.
Hmm. Interesting. So the other thing we should probably touch on since we're talking about mech lance packs and things that are coming out in the future. McCarran's Armored Cavalry pack. I think that's coming out as an exclusive at Barnes and Noble to start.
Yeah.
So what are we going to be getting in that, Henny?
So the McCarran's Armored Cavalry pack is going to have a Black Knight, which will just be a repose, an awesome variant. I'm not sure if it's going to be the 9Q with the extra PPC or the 8T with the LRMs and large lasers. It's going to have a jumping variant of the Star Slayer, which is great because it'll be another way to get Star Slayers without having to buy a whole intro box for mercenaries. And the new Tian Zong, which is a Capellan. It's supposed to be the quintessential heavy recon mech, but it's way too slow for that, and it totes a couple of Gauss rifles, so it's one heck of a sniper, is what it is to me. And honestly, looking at the size of the mechs in this pack, I kind of understand why the joking name for McCarran's Armored Cavalry in unit is the Big Mac.
Which is cool. And then the last couple of items I saw that you put in here to discuss, we have a couple of premium miniatures. We have a Nova Cat and something that I'm really looking forward to, and I didn't even get to see this myself this weekend. A premium Battle Master, which is pretty cool. What do you know about that?
Not too much. I've just seen the pictures of them both. Honestly, I'm really happy to see the Battlemaster comes with PPCs for the second arm, so that you can have a dual-wielding Battlemaster and make the Hellslinger, the Red Corsair, and the old Star League era version. The Nova Cat's a pretty cool-looking mech as well. Everything we've got here seems mostly dedicated to the Prime configuration, which is unfortunate. I'm guessing there were some licensing rights with getting the missile tubes for the LRM-15 version.
Cool. So the other thing that popped up for sale and release, at least at Gen Con to start this weekend, was the first of the Force manuals, and that was Force Manual Davian. Now, the Force manuals are something I have been looking forward to for a very long time. I feel anything that is a game aid for BattleTech is a huge boost to the game's expansion and growing our community. I think modern wargaming has a familiarity across all the different genres and all the different games that are being played out there that have whatever you want to call them, codexes in some instances, or army manuals, or even in Dungeons and Dragons, the old fighter's handbook, or cleric's handbook, books that allow players to help build those narrative lists that allow them to not only tell the story, but also to be able to be competitive while they're playing. And I think it's important that we have tools and aids out there for players to have in order to have some sort of uniform, standardized way of playing, where a guy can show up and say, "Hey, I'm Davian, here's my list," and his opponent will know what that is going to consist of, and they'll have an idea of what percentages of different mechs might be in that makeup. And this is going to be really cool because I think after this, in a couple of months down the road, we're going to see Force Manual Kurita next. And then after that, I believe it's going to be, I don't know when the release dates on any of this are, but it'll be the Mercenaries field manual. And then I did see somewhere and mention of it maybe in a podcast or a stream somewhere along the line the last month or so, that they are working on the Invading Clans Force manuals, which would be really cool. Now, the one thing I do know about the Force manuals, from both talking to people that are working on those at Catalyst, and hearing podcasts and interviews with those people, the manuals, as I understand them, and you can correct me with this if you happen to have a copy of them now that you got from Gen Con this weekend. The first ones, I believe, are going to be Succession Wars, Early Clan Invasion, and late clan invasion.
Yep.
And it'll cover those three eras for players. And then at some point, I think they're going to have a secondary book with the other eras that gets released that would probably cover the Civil War era, the Blakist era, and the Dark Age. And then, as I understand correctly from interviews that I've seen out there and talking about this, that the Ill Clan era is a PDF that you can get online when you make your purchase, I guess, or something along those lines. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on the details on that, but I know it's a PDF. Obviously, that's probably going to get held for printing until there's another era to go with it, I guess, sometime in the future. And these books are really cool because it looks like the way they're being generated, you're not going to have to replace them every couple of years
No.
like other games. They'll last for a generation until they have more updates to add to them. What are your thoughts on them, Henny?
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who, like Paul, is primarily a games master, or at least as much a games master as I am a player, I'm really looking forward to having something that's going to give us a little bit of a broader look into the force composition, building rules for each of the factions, as well as their kind of tactical doctrines. I mean, the Davian we know are very, very into the use of combined arms, so I think we're going to see this as a great first book to release with the mercenaries packs that has all the tanks and battle armor and stuff like that coming out. It's going to show us probably how to work with them from a faction that's known for bringing slightly lighter mechs and more of the combined arms aspect. And then we'll have the Curetans coming back in after that with their samurai cavalry units that are, again, going to be more mech based and more one-off battle style.
Very cool. Now, the other thing too that after listening, I think it was Josh Franklin gave an interview on the Mech Bay podcast. Josh and Denham, great work. Love you guys. I talked to them a lot behind the scenes too. I didn't mention them at the beginning. Really good guys. They had a great interview with Josh Franklin, and during that interview, he mentioned that the way those force manuals are going to work is that they're going to have lists in there that give you your force building criteria, and mechs will be listed. I don't know. I'm gonna use this as a synonym. They're going to be like magic cards almost. They're going to be like an iconic rating would be, something like a panther to the Curetans or a enforcer to the Federated Sons, and you would basically get like an unlimited version or a number access to them in
Hmm.
any list build. And then you would have, the mechs that are common or uncommon, rare, mythic rare, or whatever, however they're going to be labeled, and then you would get access to them, by however size how big your force size is. So whether it's a company level or X mini BV or point value, if it's Alpha Strike, you can have maybe one dire wolf and a Davian unit per regiment, maybe, or
Yeah,
something along those lines. I think that's really cool. They're kind of akin to like the the rats tables.
that's exactly what That's exactly what I was thinking of when I saw this. Is we're going to have a new alternative and slightly more in-depth component that is going to kind of replace Master Unit List or work in line with Master Unit List for this, similar to the old rat tables. And I am definitely going to have to figure out how it is that I can work a KTO 20 into every single one of my Draconis Combine lists somehow, despite its fairly mythical status.
Cool. So the last thing I think we're going to talk about tonight is the upcoming novels that are out now. Myself, being a source book guy or a field manual type guy, I'm into the game aids more than the actual fiction. I'm an encyclopedic reader. Henny, however, though, he's a bookworm. He loves to read his novels. He loves to read his fiction, and I'll let Henny discuss everything that's coming out in the near future here.
Okay, I will jump down this particular rabbit hole in just a moment. I do believe we actually missed something earlier on when we were talking about Gen Con, and I do want to congratulate Alaric Kerensky on his third straight Majors
Correct.
event with the Battletech Circuit Championships at Gen Con, and winning Gen Con for the second year in a row with his Black Wolves Merc unit of a Dire Wolf, a Timber Wolf, a pair of Savannah Masters, everybody's favorite 5-ton annoyance, and a couple of points of battle armor.
So just to touch on to Alert Kerensky, congratulations on that. That's not easy to win three consecutive major tournaments. He's won Gen Con back to back, and in between, he won Adepticon. That's impressive. That means the rest of us out there have to stop letting this guy go K. Allard Leo on us. And we got to step up our game here and give this guy a bit of a challenge because when I read the post and saw the results, I think he only squandered 14 of a possible 400 points. He's kicking everybody's butts. Congrats again, Alaric. We're gonna step up our game and we are going to give you a bit more of a challenge next year. All right, buddy? And I'll put it back over to Henny.
Yes, please. I'm sorry, Alaric, but somebody depose this guy. I am getting so tired of seeing the name Alaric and Wolf all over the BattleTech universe right now. But as we said, we're going to speak about books for a second. I'm going to take us to a different part of the Battletech universe, thankfully, for a moment. And I'm just going to mention a book that just released that I've just kind of started on the other day, In the Shadow of the Dragon, by Craig A. Reed. It was released about 2-3 weeks ago, July 15th. And basically, it's sort of the heir to the dragon, almost. It's looking at Yori Kurita, the current coordinator of the Draconis Combine. She is at once in a really good spot, having just taken the Fed Sun's capital world, and in a not so great place. Not to criticize Luthien, I more mean that she's facing a lot of strife back home. She's kind of considered to be possibly a pretender, possibly a puppet, and her heritage as a Curitan is rather loose, coming from an affair. Um, it's an interesting read. The thing that I'm really, really enjoying about it, though, is actually the side story in it, which is Russell Blaylock. He is a civilian police detective, more or less, as close as there is to that in the Draconis Combine. And I'm not going to go too into detail because I don't want to give spoilers, and I'm still only partway through. But in the process of solving a very specific murder that, again, I can't elaborate on because spoilers, um, Yori tasks him with reforming the long dormant Office of Special Investigations. This is kind of like the FBI to the Curitans. He ends up kind of at odds with both the ISF and the Order of the Five Pillars, the uh, legitimate and illegitimate sides of House Kurita intelligence, and it gives us something that we haven't had a lot of in BattleTech books, especially lately, which is a bit of the spy intrigue. And a real rarity for BattleTech universe because we have had spy intrigue before, but actually a little bit of legit investigative work, giving us a little bit of a like police procedural nod, which I thought was a really interesting thing to add into our usual diet of mech porn and high, lofty political machinations.
All right. We'll leave off tonight discussing the next big thing we got coming up. Of course, Gen Con just wrapped up today. I want to say shout out to all our friends out there putting on a great show. Catalyst Game Lab is having a huge booth out there, a lot of attendance. I saw a bunch of wonderful pictures. Of course, my friends here from Six Sides of Gaming and Lindvander Studios out there busy doing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of Shadowrun, putting on a lot of cool events for the general public. Ourselves here, my guys, Henny, myself, Wayne, and the rest of the crew, Austin and Scott and Michael, we are going to be at Fan Expo on the weekend of the 22nd through the 25th. We will be putting on full days of events. We'll be running a main event based off of the final battle of Wayne Waco and Jamie Wolf, and we're calling it Havoc and Harlech 2, and we're going to tie that directly into the Paul Sajardin short story that was written in Shrapnel. So that'll be an aces deck scenario for players to play cooperatively in. And basically what we're going to do with a rough concept of it is that each objective that the players achieve is going to unlock a narrative part of that story. So not only do players get to learn to play the game, they get to interact with the aces deck, but they're also going to get to learn the story from Shrapnel, get some familiarity with some of the literature that's out there that is help driving this game forward. We will be there for 4 days. We'll also be overseeing X-Wing getting played there. Lynn Vander will be there running their Imaria D&D with several tables, and the guys that Unite the Factions will be on the other side running multiple games of Dungeons and Dragons. So it's going to be a fantastic weekend. If you're in the Toronto area, come on out. Of course, there's all sorts of celebrities and whatnot that'll be there. I'm excited. The guys from Seinfeld are going to be there. It's like all the secondary characters are going to be there, like Newman and the Soup Nazi and who else? Peterman's going to be there, and Jackie, Patrick Warburton's going to be there.
Yeah.
I'm looking for
Putty.
the Putty. Putty's going to be there, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, we can get someone out to play BattleTech. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, we'd love to see you guys all out there. Come out and join us. Have some fun. Henny, do you have any final last words for tonight?
Once again, congratulations to Alaric, and somebody please beat the pants off of him. For everybody else, hopefully I will see you guys coming out to Fan Expo. All right. Thank you, guys.
Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight, joining us. We're going to try and do this every Sunday, or most Sundays between 6 and 7. We'll get things going and fired up. We wanted to get a first one out there tonight, get it under our feet. It's not running a game. It's more of us talking. So, hey, we're new at this too. I'm not Tommy. I don't know how to just randomly talk and talk and talk. He's been doing it for a long time. So again, we're new at it. Hopefully next weekend we'll get back around the same time. Other than that, we'll get some of our partners, content creators, will be coming and joining us from time to time on the show, and we will discuss everything, anything we can. So anybody out there who has suggestions or wants a mention or wants to have us promote an event that they might be running, you can reach us at foxgmail.com, foxnetwork@gmail.com. Send us an email, and we'll add you into the community news, and we'll get some exposure out there for any events you're going to run. Okay. Until then, again, thank you, and everybody enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you're up here in Canada, everybody's got tomorrow off except for me, and enjoy it. And we'll see you next week. Thanks again, guys.